Have you not watched this before? The don't leave me joke.
Okay, what?
Yeah, they're funny still.
You watch?
A couple.
I got my own ones. Now, you see this ball? Yeah? If I put my foot on it, what do you call it now? Football. Yeah, don't leave.
Dead.
I got next one. I was watching a program yesterday. It was about a rug on a bee. Oh, what was it called again? Oh yeah, rugby. Yeah.
No, bro. No way.
My last one. Hold on. Who am I calling?
Danny.
And what am I doing now?
And you're drinking water.
Drinking water. Who am I calling? Yeah. Danny, drink water.
Danny.
No
way.
Come on.
God, bro.
Don't leave me. And welcome to another episode of A Dash of Sports, episode 9. I'll be your host and presenter, Dashiki Dash, and on this show is where I talk all things sports related, hot topics, and trending stories. And if you like the previous episodes, hey, give us a like, comment, and subscribe. And oh yeah, don't forget to share it. And on today's show, I'm going to be kicking off with the Premier League, and with one day to go, how excited are you? And also, how are the restart preparations been going for the teams? Well, with La Liga, who have already made their return back to action, and Serie A are about to make their restart, with both being major leagues in Europe, is our football feeling back, or is it just too soon after the pandemic? Well, like I've been saying on this show, is when one door opens, another door shuts. And unfortunately, both doors have been shut on League 1 and League 2, as they've been cancelled indefinitely for the rest of the season. Now, what does that mean for league positions? Promotions, playoffs, relegations? Hey, so much to break down today. Moving on to the world of boxing, with Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury finally agreed to fight. Or have they? Well, with reports coming out of both camps saying that they've agreed a 2-fight deal next year in 2021. If that's to be true, which I'm a bit skeptical about, what does that now mean for the likes of Dillian Whyte? Maybe he might have to take up the MMA option after all. And speaking of MMA, as I now move on to the world of UFC, with Conor McGregor, the notorious one, announces his retirement again. That's what that's like 3 times already. Huh? Yeah. 3 times. But hey, apparently, 3 times a charm. More to be discussed on the Dash of Sports. Now, who else is excited about seeing the most long-awaited and the most anticipated return to a footballing league across Europe and pretty much the whole world, as the Premier League makes its return back tomorrow? One day to go, guys. Now, I'm not one to wish away the hours and all that, but I can't wait to watch these games. With the first round of games starting off with Aston Villa versus Sheffield United, kicking off at 6 p.m. UK time, followed by Man City versus Arsenal, 8 p.m. UK time. And I've recently heard that Sky is going to be adopting that crowd noise effect to really help with the viewing experience, because I usually watch my Bundesliga games on US networks, and trust me when I tell you, it does really help. And it is something that I've suggested and mentioned here on the Dash of Sports. Now, if you want to know the rest of the games and who's playing who, I've got the fixture list up on my Instagram page. If you check that out, games starting from Wednesday the 17th right through to July the 2nd, which is going to be the last game of the season. So how's the preparation going for these Premier League teams and the Premier League itself? Well, I previously watched Arsenal with their 2 games at the Emirates, where they won against Charlton and lost to Brentford, and also the Spurs 11v11 training match that they had at their ground. And then recently, I watched Man United versus West Brom, where they actually had 2 games, one early kickoff, and the following game was later on in the day. Manchester United stepped up their preparations for the return to Premier League action with 2 friendly games against West Brom at Old Trafford. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer selected mixed sides to play against the Championship promotion hopefuls, and I'm sure that every United fan would have been highly excited about seeing Bruno Fernandes and a returning Paul Pogba. And also another player they would have been excited to see was Marcus Rashford. And he's been out since about January times with a back injury. So it's really good to see him back. And he was looking really sharp, razor sharp on the pitch. I actually got to watch another friendly match between Tottenham Hotspur and Norwich City, with Norwich actually beating Spurs 2-1. It hasn't actually been considered great prep, especially with the game against Reading being cancelled. But listen, what you can take from the game against Norwich is the likes of Harry Kane, Steven Bergwijn making their return from injury, and also Son, who's making his return from military service. So you get to see them kind of players play, they get their much needed minutes, and you kind of move on from that. The only thing is, the next game they're going to have is against Man United. Oh, that's going to be a tough game, especially for Mourinho as well, who hasn't had it all his way against his former clubs. In fact, he hasn't even won a game against his former clubs. So all eyes are going to be at that game at the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which you can check out the fixtures on my Instagram page, and that game is going to be on Friday the 19th. Tottenham Hotspur versus Man United, and also Norwich will be playing against Southampton in the early kickoff. Norwich versus Southampton. I could see Tottenham versus Man United being a fiercely contested game, as both teams are pushing for Champions League qualification. Now that's a good thing right now in the Premier League, that although we know who's going to be champions, Liverpool, we've also got spots for Champions League qualifications to be determined. So games like Tottenham versus Man United is going to have that extra spice to it. So I want to up the ante and just get the excitement going even further, because tomorrow's the games. Yeah, we've been waiting for this for a long time. Tomorrow is the restart of the Premier League, and I want to get some predictions going on. So I'm going to start with my prediction, and I want you guys also to chime in. Write down your predictions in the comment section. The games between Aston Villa versus Sheffield United, what you think the scores are going to be, and also Man City versus Arsenal, what you think the scores are going to be. Now, okay, let me start. I'm going with a 2-1 Villa. Don't know why I'm feeling like 2-1, but I feel like Villa might. Yeah, I'm going 2-1 Villa, and then I'm going to go 3-1 Man City. Yeah. I can see 3-1 Man City and 2-1 Aston Villa. So make sure that you write down in the comments below what the score lines are going to be. So remember, Aston Villa versus Sheffield United, they kick off first at 6 p.m. and then at 8 p.m. it's going to be Manchester City versus Arsenal. And moving on to the Premier League, the league itself, and how they're preparing for the restart of games. And I'm just recently hearing as well, there's going to be no mask or ball boys as plans have been revealed. In fact, players and coaching staff will not be required to wear masks at stadiums when the Premier League restarts. Players will be encouraged not to spit or clear their noses, and not to break social distancing during goal celebrations. There will be no ball boys or girls, and a system of sterilised replacement balls will be used. Now the whole no social distancing with goal celebrations, I don't get, because you're in the changing rooms, you're close together. During warm-ups, okay, you might be a bit separate, but you're still close together. And then during the game, what? You're going to practice social distancing? Listen, I've watched other leagues, I've been watching the Bundesliga, as you know, and I've been watching the corners. They're all congregating, players are getting close. Game by game by game by game, week by week, you're seeing the players a lot more relaxed, high-fiving, hugging. I've seen even one game, one of the players kissed the other player. So I get it. At the beginning, you're trying to enforce the rules, but eventually it's just going to be a bit ridiculous to kind of police. And yeah, this whole social distancing during goal celebrations will not last long. The Premier League are also going to be dedicating the first round of games, so that's going to be the first 12 games, to the Black Lives Matter movement and also the NHS. So they're going to allow players to have the Black Lives Matter written on their backs, supporting the cause, supporting the movement, and also not to forget the NHS frontline workers that have been working tirelessly to help everybody during this pandemic. So they also are going to be represented, upheld, also celebrated, which is going to be a really good gesture for both to get the spotlight that they need. And no other league in the world really reaches the masses. So it's a good gesture by the Premier League, well thought. And all we can hope for in regards to the Black Lives Matter movement is that campaigns such as that, Kick It Out, other campaigns that are really going to be shedding a light on racism, that's going to be able to help situations, whether it be on or off the pitch. So just bringing that awareness that is needed. Also, when it comes to the NHS, once again, I don't even know where to begin in terms of thanking the nurses, the doctors, you know, just the key workers that have been out there working tirelessly to help the nation in regards to recovering from this pandemic. So salute to you guys as well. Great gesture from the Premier League once again. So the question I want to ask you guys now is your feelings, the love for the game, is it back? Is it back? Now that football's making its return, I've been asking myself that question, whether or not the feeling is back. You know what, for me personally, I don't think it ever left. Even more so now, I feel like I'm more hungry for the game. This lockdown situation, obviously the pandemic has been really bad. We've lost a lot of things that we've been used to having. One thing I will say is it's broadened my outlook on other leagues. Like, I would never have gotten the opportunity to really sit down and watch German football. I'm watching Portuguese league, Danish league, even pre-lockdown, I was watching the Russian league. And just now, I just feel like I can't get enough. And I'm just glad the leagues are returning. Now, speaking of leagues returning, La Liga made its long-awaited restart last week Thursday with their opening game between Sevilla and Real Betis. Sevilla beat Real Betis in a Seville derby as La Liga returned after a 3-month gap, and with what I can kind of say some teething problems off the pitch, with groups of fans who ignored the guidance as they gathered outside the stadium before the game. So although I was happy to see La Liga make its return and also happy to watch the Seville versus Real Betis game, that wasn't really the game that I was waiting for. In fact, the game that I wanted to watch was the Barcelona game, so Mallorca versus Barcelona. And trust me, that did not disappoint. In fact, Barcelona scored 66 seconds into their return to action as Lionel Messi completed a comfortable 4-0 win at Mallorca. And moving on to Italy, where they've kind of restarted, but not really. Not their league anyway, but they restarted with one of their domestic cups, with the first games being played between Juventus and AC Milan. And the second game, which was actually a semi-final, was between Napoli and Inter Milan. Well, that ended 1-1, but it was actually 2-1 on aggregate, which saw Napoli go through to the final against Juventus. I watched the first game, but I didn't watch the second game. The first game was between Juventus and AC Milan, which was, man, it was a bit of a drag, I can't lie, 0-0. And that was a game that I was watching and thinking, oh, if games are like this in the Premier League, it's going to be a really tough watch. Probably a little highlight was to see Ronaldo. Yes, he's human. He hit the post when he had a chance with a penalty during the game. He actually hit the post, missed the penalty. Well, I say the game wasn't that exciting, but you know, there was that red card from Rebic, that mad kung fu kick. He was like, yeah! I was like, wow. But all in all, there weren't really any points in the game that I personally felt was quite exciting. So I just hope that there's no games like that in the Premier League. Hopefully there won't be. But all in all, it was good to see the players out there once again, and it's just showing us that Italy and Spain, who are really hardly hit by the coronavirus, by this pandemic, it's good to see that football is back and running. I would never have thought, with all the reports that we was getting out there in terms of Italy's lockdown, in terms of the deaths, in terms of the way Spain was dealing with the coronavirus, I never thought that football would be back. So it's very encouraging to see, and no wonder the Premier League is making its way back as well, because if Italy and Spain can do it, then definitely the Premier League can do it as well. Now, as much as I can sit here and be happy and celebrating about the Premier League being back and watching other elite leagues across Europe, now the one thing that I love about England when it comes to football is our leagues, whether it's the Premier League, Championship, League 1, League 2, lower leagues, Saturday League, Sunday League, we love them all. So we truly got to appreciate the fact that there's going to be some fans from League 1 and League 2 right now that are going to be quite downhearted, as it's been recently been reported that both leagues have been cancelled indefinitely. So if you remember, I did report that the Women's League was cancelled, and a decision will be made soon in the coming weeks in regards to League 1 and 2. So there you go, it's been confirmed that League 1 and League 2 have actually been cancelled. Now, apart from automatic promotion and relegation, the most exciting thing for me personally is the playoffs. In fact, the League One playoff is going to be staged at Wembley. Wembley Stadium will host the League One final on Monday the 13th of July, after dates were confirmed for the division's playoff fixtures. The final will follow 2 weeks after League Two's promotion showpiece at the National Stadium, and that will be on the 29th of June. Then the two-leg League One semi-finals will take place on Friday the 13th of July and also on Monday the 6th of July, where Portsmouth will host Oxford in the first leg, while Fleetwood will welcome Wycombe. And speaking of Wycombe, Mr. Beast Mode himself, Akinfenwa, posted on his Instagram that the playoff dates had been confirmed. And I know that he'd want to get into another playoff final and experience the same type of fortune that he did with AFC Wimbledon at that time, but this time with Wycombe. The opportunity to play in the championship doesn't come every day, so all the best of luck to all the boys at Wycombe. And also the championship itself hasn't confirmed the dates for their playoffs, which is another really good opportunity for teams to be able to get to the promised land, and that's the Premier League. So I'll definitely be looking out for those dates, and I'll make sure to let you know when that will be taking place. And moving on to the world of boxing, Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. Is that happening? Is it actually happening? Well, reports coming out of both camps are saying that the deal has been done. A 2-fight deal has been agreed for next year, 2021. Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury have agreed 2 fights next year in an all-British showdown, with Joshua, who holds the WBA, IBF and WBO heavyweight belts, while Fury, who holds the WBC, can finally get it on to declare who's the undisputed heavyweight champ. Now, when I heard this, I was like, right, they've actually agreed. Because long has it been going on back and forth, and whether or not they'll fight, will they or won't they, it's been going on for time. Now, there's one part of me that's excited about this, and there's another part that's still thinking, hold on a second, are you sure that this has been confirmed? Now, Sky's confirmed it, Eddie Hearn's confirmed it. We've heard it from the horse's mouth himself, Tyson Fury, who's confirmed that they've agreed a 2-fight deal for next year. But then my thing was like, well, I then heard the interview with Eddie Hearn saying everything has been agreed except for the money part. That's a major part of the deal. Without really confirming the money aspect, we're going to get back to the situation where they're arguing over who's going to have the bigger purse, or should the money be split down 50-50, which has been the undoing for many negotiations in the fight game. After that was Frank Warren, who came out and said, well, he's hearing about something being agreed, but no money's been agreed. And that's when I was like, you see? So it's very quick to say, yes, it's been confirmed. If the money aspect hasn't been locked down, then there's still going to be room for a U-turn. But let's just see what happens. If I think more positively, I am excited. This is definitely a fight that I wanted to see. My fights that I wanted to see was Tyson Fury versus AJ. I wanted to see Tyson Fury versus Wilder. We got to see that, and we're going to see that again. Also, I want to see AJ versus Wilder. So hopefully, we're going to be able to get those fights. Now, as much as I want to be jumping up and down and saying, yes, like, this fight is definitely going to happen, we still got the issues of the fights that Tyson Fury has and Anthony Joshua has. With Tyson Fury needing to fight Wilder again, can still throw a bit of a spanner in the works. I'm a strong believer that Tyson Fury is going to come out that fight victorious once again. I can't see Wilder beating Tyson Fury. We've still got Anthony Joshua that needs to take on Pulev. Now, we've seen Anthony Joshua take fights quite lightly. Remember the Ruiz fight? So these things, these types of fights, anything can happen. Both fighters need to come through their fights unscathed, victorious, and then I can be in a position to be like, all right, cool, these fights are definitely going to happen. But until then, I'm not really going to hold my breath, man, because the stranger things have happened in boxing. All of a sudden, something else happens. And also, don't forget, there's a mandatory fight pending with Dillian Whyte waiting on the wings. Because now the situation with Dillian Whyte is, if there's a 2-fight deal agreed between Fury and Anthony Joshua, it's not even like he can go the Fury route. He would have to wait for 2 fights. And it's not even like he can go and fight a couple of fights, maybe Ortiz or maybe Andy Ruiz, and then get himself in more of a reckoning for Anthony Joshua. He's still got to wait 2 fights. So right now, I don't know what to say, and I feel for Dillian Whyte, because if you don't know and watch the show, you know I'm a big fan of Dillian Whyte, and I do truly believe that he's going to be a future heavyweight champion, but how long does he need to wait for? That is the question. How long does he need to wait for? I think Dillian Whyte needs to think about something else. Maybe the MMA that was being talked about previously. Bide your time in the MMA, UFC, or wherever it is, and then come back later and see what you can do after that, because hey man, I could just see Dillian Whyte waiting around forever. So guys, let me know, what do you think about the prospect of that fight? Who do you think is going to win? Who's your money on? Is it Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury? So Anthony Joshua's got the explosive power, but Fury's got the boxing IQ and stamina. So let me know, who do you think is going to win? Anthony Joshua or Tyson Fury? Put your answers below, man. Leave your comments. Let me know. And finally, moving on to the world of MMA, mixed martial arts, UFC to be exact, with the notorious Conor McGregor, who's announced his retirement again. Yep, again. I'll say it one more time, again. This guy's announced it 3 times. Oh my goodness. Well, this time he announced on a Twitter post, "Hey guys, I've decided to retire from fighting. Thank you for all the amazing memories. What a ride it's been." Now, I would like to say that this was a surprise or a shock for everyone, but listen, this is just typical Conor McGregor. It's not the first time that he's announced his retirement on social media. In fact, the controversial Irish fighter announced his retirement from the sport in March of 2019, but then returning to the ring early this year. Now, if we don't see him back in the world of MMA, UFC, could we see him back in the boxing ring? That could be where he ends up. Well, if we go by the words of Mayweather, who was mocking McGregor on his Instagram posts about his retirement, Mayweather said, "If I'm not mistaken, didn't you tell Mike Tyson you could beat me if we fought a second time? Now you're quitting. I thought you wanted to be the best. Well, if you decide to come back, I'll be waiting to punish you again." You know Mayweather, he's always got, like, that was literally underneath his retirement post. Like, get a picture of a cake, and then he put the post there. When there's an opportunity to make money, Mayweather is there. Now, could those words be fighting words? Could those words be the words that brings McGregor back to the boxing world again? Mayweather McGregor Part 2. But let me ask you that question. Who would be up for watching Mayweather versus McGregor Part 2? I don't know, man. I don't want to watch that again, because it's just, yeah, it was embarrassing the first time, but stranger things, like I keep saying. Put your comments down below, let me know. I'm sure that there are people that would love to watch that fight again, but for me personally, nah, you can leave that alone. Well, I'm going to leave it there for today, and just to say thank you for watching another episode of A Dash of Sports. I truly appreciate your love and support, and if you need further information about future episodes or just your day-to-day sporting updates, please head over to my Instagram page, and I'm also on Twitter, which is A Dash of Sports. A Dash of Sports, I'll put it down below here, and I'll also put it in my description. And please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. I truly do appreciate it. And if you have any suggestions about topics that you'd want me to cover, please don't be afraid. Please mention it, comment, and let me know, and I'll be sure to cover it. With that being said, until next time on A Dash of Sports, peace.